I'm attorney Nick Alcock, and I've been practicing law for over 22 years and have been in business here at Alcock and Associates for over 20. And a lot of people want to know kind of the origin story about how the firm came to be, why I wanted to open a law firm in the first place, and some of the decisions that I made along the way to get to where it is now. And my dad is a professor at Arizona State. He's retired now, but he studies insects and dung beetles and butterflies and things like that. So my childhood, I grew up traveling the world and living in Costa Rica, living in Australia, while my dad would go out deep into the forest somewhere to study some insect that nobody had ever seen before. He actually has a whole bunch of insects named after him, and that's his claim to fame. So that is my upbringing. I don't have any lawyers in the family, and when I told my dad I wanted to become a lawyer, he winced. He's like, like lawyers, who likes lawyers? Can't really blame him for that at all. My brother's a doctor, so that makes me kind of the black sheep of the family. But my dad is a supportive guy, but definitely he's not the lawyer in the family that started the whole thing. And I actually started my law firm with $1,000 when I put myself through law school. Now, granted, I went to law school largely for free because my dad was a professor, but in order to make ends meet and pay rent and pay for books and things like that, I bought and sold cars, and I washed cars, I detailed cars. I worked in an athletic club, folding towels on Sunday mornings. I did kind of whatever it took to make ends meet. And so I had a car that I had, and I sold the car for $1,000, and that's how I started my law practice. I originally had a little tiny office up at 32nd Street in Shea, and it was right across the hallway actually from the Justice Court. The judge who worked in that Justice Court was someone who was known as having a very, very stern countenance. It was a very, very tough court to be in. And Lord help you if you showed up late. Lord help you if you, gave the judge any static. The judge had a very, very tough reputation. And so a lot of people had a tough time in that court, and a lot of people wanted nothing to do with that court. I'm certainly not bad-mouthing that judge. That judge did what they thought was right at the time, but the judge had a very, very stern reputation. So this office was available. It had been available, and nobody wanted it for some time, and it smelled like cigarette smoke. I think it had been a probation department office for years and years, and it was sitting there vacant. So I moved in, and I just opened the door, and that's all I did. I remember I got some secondhand furniture, and I put it in there, and I had a little cheap computer. And I opened the door, and I was opening the door actually, to be quite honest, because it smelled like cigarette smoke. And I'm not a smoker, I couldn't handle it. My eyes were watering, and I would smell like cigarettes at the end of the day. Eventually I took the carpet out and I refloored it and I kind of painted it, and eventually the smell went away, but it took about 6 months. So for the first 6 months when I'm up there, I got my door open, and people are going into this court and they're having very, very tough times with this judge. Extremely, extremely tough time. I remember one time, probably about a week into my office stay of my rent, this gentleman came in, and he was homeless, and he was pretty much crying, and he had a long beard, I remember, and he was telling me that he had this bad experience in front of the court. The court didn't understand that he didn't have the money, and he wanted to go to court, but he also suffers from mental illness and things like that. And I found out that he was a veteran and that he had served in Vietnam. And so I decided to walk back to court, and I recalled the case, and the judge did not like the fact that I was there and did not like the fact that I was recalling the case. And it was a very intense half hour that I experienced. But at the end of that half hour, actually, I was able to resolve the warrant for my client. I was able to explain that he was a veteran, that he had mental health issues, and that his reasons for not appearing in court were that he was disrespecting the court in any way, shape, or form. And I resolved it. And then from that point on, my door was open, so people would just kind of filter into my office, and I just started to accept people as they came in. And it was a very great experience for me for a variety of reasons, and it really changed the arc of my career. And I'm so happy, I'm so blessed I had that experience, because to this day, I really try to practice the same way. First is that judge was known as a very, very tough judge, and you had to be perfect in that court. You had to be on time. Your pleadings had to be on the correct font. You could not violate any of the local rules of court. Everything had to be very precise. And a lot of lawyers did not like practicing in that court because if you made a mistake, if you filed late, if you showed up 5 minutes late, you could be held in contempt and things could go terribly wrong. So my very first experience as a private attorney, I'd worked for other attorneys before I hung my shingle, but that very first experience was that I learned you had to be extremely precise. And you have to deal with decisions that are tough, and you have to know the law. I learned that if you do things very precisely and if you know the law, you can walk in and you can advocate for somebody and you can overcome obstacles and you can develop a good practice irrespective of where the judge is at. So I thank that judge for giving me that experience. I thank that judge very much. Every day, actually, I think about that judge. I think about what a different lawyer I would be but for that experience. The first 6 months of practicing where my feet were held to the fire virtually every single day and I had to practice at an extremely high level. And so I thank that judge every single day for that. The second is that the idea of having the open door policy and just accepting people as they come into the office. Now, I'm on the top floor of the Renaissance building, but we still have that policy. It's still a free consultation, and we don't charge for consultations for family law cases or immigration cases or criminal cases, personal injury cases. Anybody can come up here, and we also do a lot of pro bono cases, just like I handled some cases from day one, minute one. We try to represent somebody every single day. We try to take on a pro bono or a low bono case to cover the expenses every single day. And I'm very proud of the fact that virtually every year we're representing hundreds and hundreds of clients for free. People that have special circumstances. I've got a soft spot for veterans to this day, and I appreciate the service to our country. I definitely like helping people who are just starting out. I like helping kids who have just graduated high school that have found themselves in kind of a sticky situation. So I look for opportunities like that every day, and I think that that office gave me that grounding in that if you open the door and you see what comes in and you try to help people, and if that is your approach as opposed to let's see how many clients I can sign up, let's see how big I can make this business, but having that open door policy, it really helped me. The third is definitely more abstract, and that is the notion of starting a law firm with nothing and being very incremental and being extremely cautious about how I practice law. So the notion of, I've not tried to grow this firm at this unbridled pace. I've had opportunities to open up offices in other locations, but that would require that I travel a lot, maybe go to Tucson or go to Flagstaff or things like that where I'm really spread out. And I've always been sort of tried to stay within myself. And I think that that notion of having a very tiny office where I've got secondhand furniture, obviously the situation is different now, but again, the notion of starting with $1,000 and understanding the value of money also gave me the first world view of people's finances, and I appreciate the value of a dollar. There are some lawyers that charge $1,000 or $500 for a file opening fee for personal injury cases, for example. And I know what $1,000 meant to me 22 years ago, and I know that $1,000 is the difference between maybe opening a business and not opening a business. So I've always appreciated and I've approached my practice from understanding the value of money, that even a $300 or $400 file opening fee, that's if somebody's making $10 an hour, $15 an hour, that represents a ton of work. And there are lawyers out there who maybe don't have the same worldview, and I respect them. But I just know that my approach with clients is that to value money and take money very seriously and sort of stay within my practice, stay available, keep the doors open. I'm meeting with a client in a couple of hours. The client just wants to meet with me. I'm totally cool with that. I don't have any problem with that. They're not complaining. They're being represented by one of our associates here, but they wanted to sit down with me. And that's why I started practice, and that's why my doors have always been open, and they always will be. So that's our origin story, and thanks so much for listening. I appreciate it. My name is Nick Alcock, and if you have a criminal matter, DUI, immigration, accident, family law matter, and you want to experience what my firm is all about, you can always give us a call at 602-989-5000. That's 602-989-5000. Again, my name is Nick Alcock. I'm the owner of Alcock & Associates. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Appreciate it.